Hello and welcome to the next video in the virtual lesson series. This one is all about stem cells. What is a stem cell? Pause the video here, look at the pictures and write down your ideas for me. Stem cells are cells which can develop into any cell type. It is not specialised and is undifferentiated. So in an earlier video we looked at specialised cells like skin, muscle and nerve cells, and those cells all have structures that help them to do a particular function. Stem cells can be anything they want to be, whatever our body needs at the time, and they can develop the right structures to do those functions. And in this lesson, we're going to be thinking about the question, why do we need stem cells in the body? Human development starts with just one cell, the fertilized egg. This cell divides to produce two daughter cells. These daughter cells divide, and their daughters divide again and again, and so on. We call this a zygote. There are a great many steps needed to form an adult body or even a baby. Along the way, lots of different types of cells must be made and become specialized. When we are fully formed, most of our cells are specialized. They've decided what jobs they're going to do in the body. Are they going to be a muscle cell or a nerve cell? Our cells have already decided. Now, very early on, about 4 days after fertilization, we get a blastocyst. The inner cells of the blastocyst is what differentiates into these types of cells we've just mentioned, and will eventually form a fully formed baby and then an adult. In adults, we do get some stem cells, and these can make more cells of the same type. For example, bone marrow stem cells make new blood cells, whereas in this early stage of the blastocyst, all of those cells, all of those embryonic stem cells, can differentiate into anything. One single skin stem cell could produce enough skin cells for your entire body. And then some examples here of the different applications for stem cells. You may remember learning about a type of cell division called mitosis in the last video. Mitosis happens in wound healing or to replace short-lived cells. It's for growth and repair. Without stem cells, wounds would never heal. Your skin and blood could not keep renewing themselves, and fertilized egg cells would not grow into babies. Unlike specialized cells in your body, like nerves and muscle cells, stem cells are the body's backups. Most stem cells in your body aren't doing very much at any given time. They'll only spring into action when you either need them to make more stem cells, which is self-renewal, where one stem cell copies itself to make identical daughter stem cells, or you may use it to differentiate, to specialize, to make more of skin cells or muscle cells or nerve cells. They're not just found in people. All multicellular organisms, from plants to humans to animals, we all need stem cells. Self-renewal is needed because if the stem cells didn't copy themselves, you would quickly run out. It's important for the body to maintain a pool of stem cells to use throughout your life. Differentiation is important because specialized cells are used up, damaged, or die all the time during your life. Specialized cells cannot divide and make copies of themselves, but they need to be replaced for your body to carry on working. For example, your body needs 100,000 million new blood cells every day. Specialized cells are unable to divide by mitosis. This is because they are doing lots of complicated jobs. They don't have time to undergo mitosis. Cells like cardiac muscle cells dedicate all their energy to pumping your blood, so they don't have time or resources to copy themselves and reproduce. That's where stem cells come in. I'd like you to pause the video here, write the slide down and fill in the blanks. Cells are the building blocks of all living things. Your body is made up of many different types of cells, such as skin cells, muscle cells, nerve cells, etc. Any sensible answer here will get you the mark. Stem cells are amazing cells that you can't survive without. In fact, you would never have developed from a fertilized egg into a baby if it weren't for stem cells. Stem cells are special because they can do two things: make copies of themselves, we call this process self-renewal, make other types of cells that do certain jobs in the body, e.g. nerve cells or blood cells. We call this process differentiation. The new cells are known as differentiated or specialized. That's because they can only do the job they were made for. They are specialists at their jobs. There are two main types of stem cells: embryonic stem cells, which can differentiate into all the cell types of the body during development, which we call pluripotent, and adult stem cells, which are limited in what they can differentiate into, but are used to repopulate specific cell types, for example, blood cells or nerve cells, and we call those multipotent. Adult stem cells can only make the same stem cell. For example, muscle stem cells make more specialized muscle cells, and so on. There are different types of stem cells. Embryonic stem cells are found in the blastocyst, a very early stage embryo that has about 50 to 100 cells. If we take the embryonic stem cells at this point, we will not get a fully formed baby. This is why it raises ethical issues to the forefront. We get tissue stem cells, which are found in the tissues of the body in a fetus, baby, child, or an adult. Tissue stem cells are sometimes referred to as adult stem cells, but we do get them in fetus and babies as well as adults. Stem cells can also be found in plants. Meristems in the shoots make a plant grow taller, and meristems in the roots make the roots grow longer. In plants, we use meristems to make clones of the parent plants quickly. We're able to produce rare plants reliably and safely, produce plants for research, and produce a large number of plants for sale, for example, orchids and bananas. We're going to do a quick progress check here, so pause the slide and answer the questions in full sentences. What two things can stem cells do? Differentiate, which is specialise, or self-renew. Why do our bodies need stem cells? To replace dead or damaged cells throughout our lives. Name two kinds of stem cell. We have the pluripotent, which is the embryonic stem cells, the multipotent, which is the adult tissue stem cells, and meristems, which are plant stem cells. So there's three kinds there. What is each stem cell used for? Embryonic stem cells can differentiate into all the cell types of the body. Adult stem cells can differentiate and repopulate specific cell types, e.g. blood cells, nerve cells. Meristems in plants make the plant grow taller and the roots grow longer. Where are plant stem cells found? In the roots and shoots. And give one use of plant stem cells: clone plants, produce plants for research, or for sale. There are a lot of arguments for and against using human stem cells in medicine. Embryonic stem cells are taken from inside the blastocyst, a very early stage embryo. The blastocyst is a ball of about 50 to 100 cells, and it's not yet implanted in the womb. It's made up of an outer layer of cells, a fluid-filled space, and a group of cells called the inner cell mass. Embryonic stem cells are found in the inner cell mass. So we take them from the mass and we put them in a culture in a lab with a fluid full of nutrients to grow more cells. With the right growth conditions, these could be used to grow different specialized cells in the lab. Scientists around the world are trying to understand how and why embryonic stem cells produce skin, blood, nerve, or other particular specialized cells. What controls the process so that the stem cells make the right amount of each cell type at the right time? The big challenge for scientists is to learn how to control these fascinating cells. If we could force embryonic stem cells to make whatever kind of cell we want, then we would have a powerful tool for developing treatments for disease. For example, perhaps we could grow new insulin-producing cells to transplant into a patient with diabetes. But there's a great deal to learn before such therapies can be developed. Scientists also want to use stem cells to understand how diseases develop and to test drugs in the laboratory. We have to weigh up the ethics. Is it worth using stem cells to improve human lives, quality of lives, drug development, and so on, at the cost of an embryo? We all have stem cells in our bodies all the time. They're essential for keeping us fit and healthy. They replace cells that are damaged or used up. Scientists are still learning about all the different kinds of tissue stem cell found in our bodies and how they work. And here's some of the places that we have tissue stem cells: surface of the eye, the brain, skin, breast, the intestines, testicles, muscles, bone marrow. Tissue stem cells can often make several kinds of specialized cell, but they are more limited than embryonic stem cells. Tissue stem cells can only make the kinds of cell found in the tissue they belong to. So blood stem cells can only make the different kinds of cell found in the blood. Brain stem cells can only make different kinds of brain cell. Muscle stem cells can only make muscle cells, and so forth. We are currently discovering induced pluripotent stem cells. Scientists discovered many years ago that they could transform adult skin cells from a mouse into cells that behave just like embryonic stem cells. They then tested this with human cells too. The new stem cells that are made in the lab behave just like embryonic stem cells, so they can make all the different types of cell in the body. So we can say that they are pluripotent. These are a little bit like turning back time. Scientists add particular genes to adult cells to make them behave like embryonic stem cells. Genes give cells instructions about how to behave, so this process is a bit like changing the instructions in a computer program to make the computer do a new task. Scientists call this process to make IPS genetic reprogramming. Researchers hope that one day they might be able to use these cells to help treat diseases like Parkinson's or Alzheimer's. You can see on the visuals that they take adult cells, add certain genes to make them behave like embryonic stem cells, culture them in a lab, and then we're able to get all our possible specialized cells. The advantage here is that there is no need for embryos, so the ethics and the issues and arguments people have are gone in this process. The advantages of embryonic stem cells is that they are easy to extract from the embryo and they can produce any type of cell because they're pluripotent. However, the embryo is destroyed. Do those embryos have a right to live? The advantages to an adult tissue stem cell is that no embryo is destroyed, so there's not an ethical issue. There's no rejection by the body if taken from a person to be treated, but they do only produce a few types of cells. With both types of stem cell, they both replace faulty cells with a healthy cell so the person is well again. But if they don't stop dividing, they could cause cancer, because remember, cancer is uncontrolled cell growth. There's also a risk of viral infection. That's it, and that's stem cells in a nutshell. The next video will be looking at organisation.